I'm Vinnie Politan, the subject of my investigation, the tragic death of Boston police officer John O'Keefe, who was either killed by his girlfriend or by fellow police officers. That's what this trial is about. But there's a lot more going on inside the courtroom, and a lot of it is kind of personal. Here's the story. On a bitter January morning in 2022, Boston police officer John O'Keefe was found dead outside a Canton home, his body battered and lying in the snow. Hours earlier, he had been with his girlfriend, Karen Reed, who now stands accused of killing him by backing into him with her SUV. But the story doesn't end there. Jennifer McCabe, a friend of Reed's and a central figure that night, told investigators she helped Reed search for O'Keefe. Yet questions have swirled around McCabe's actions, her phone searches, her timing, and the exact role she played that night. Karen Reed insists she's being framed, pointing to inconsistencies in witness statements and suggesting law enforcement is protecting one of their own. The case has sparked outrage, conspiracy theories, and rallies outside the courthouse. As the legal drama unfolds, 3 lives remain entangled in a web of tragedy, loyalty, and a relentless pursuit of justice. Part of this case, a big part of this case is that the two sides have completely different versions of what happened to John O'Keefe, right? On the one hand, Karen Reed ran him over with his car. On the other hand, he was killed by people inside 34 Fairview, then put out on the yard, and then Karen Reed was framed by many of those same people, including the lead investigator, right? Those are the two versions. So witnesses who are testifying about items, their credibility is crucial in this case, because you have prosecution witnesses who the defense says are part of the conspiracy. So obviously their credibility is everything. Are they telling the truth, or are they covering everything up? And then you've got experts who are going to testify as well. Experts who are going to look at the same data and come to different conclusions with that data. Their credibility is incredibly important in all of this. And ultimately figuring out what is the truth here. What is the truth here? Who's telling the truth? Who's not telling the truth? So what we're going to do is take a look at the body language and some of the context of some of the statements that are being made by some of the important witnesses in the case. And right now we're going to look at where those stories or the testimony or statements conflict with one another. One conflict is between Karen Reed and John O'Keefe's mother, Peggy, talking about what happened when she returned to John O'Keefe's home that morning. Like, Karen Reed is saying that Peggy is accusing her of something, and Peggy O'Keefe said that I never did that. So what I want to do is show you those clips. On the one hand, you'll see Karen Reed in a TV interview because she hasn't testified inside the courtroom, and you'll see Peggy O'Keefe inside the courtroom. Again, they're talking about the same incident, or lack of incident, or it either happened or it didn't happen. Let's watch.
His mother leans over the kitchen island and says to me, I think it looks like he got hit by a car. It looks like he got hit by a car.
Did you ever lean over the kitchen island and say, I think he looks like he got hit by a car?
No. I don't remember talking to her that morning.
I mean, complete conflict there, right? And that brings us to the first question in our investigation. And it's about this conflict of statements, of versions of what's happening. Who is more believable? In this scenario, who's more believable? Is it Karen Reed or Peggy O'Keefe? John O'Keefe's girlfriend accused of murder, or John O'Keefe's mother, who testified for the prosecution? Here with us, jury consultant, human behavior expert, and body language expert Susan Constantine, and retired police officer after 2 decades, an expert in police interviews, suspect body language. He now trains investigators. Dr. Mike McCutcheon is with us as well. Great to have you both here. Okay, Susan, how do you see these two? Obviously, there are different places. One's a TV interview, one's in court. But what are you seeing from Peggy O'Keefe? What are you seeing from Karen Reed to try to figure out who is more believable?
Okay, well, first of all, there's problems in both of them, okay? So it's not either or, they both have issues. One of them is when we're listening to Karen Reed, she is reenacting what she is what occurred that day. The problem was the emotion is wrong. So what we're seeing is disgust. If you look at, see her nose lift up like that, that's disgust. So that is an emotion, how she feels about Peggy, not the anger or concern that the mother would have had. The other thing is her voice pitches super high, really super fast and high. That's not generally how natural expressions show. They kind of have a apex and they kind of come down. So there was a jump really fast, and it then came right back down. Was wrong. Okay, the other thing is that she didn't lean forward. She says she leaned forward. Her body didn't lean forward. She raised her eyebrows in convincing. She's trying to convince rather than convey. And then when we look at Peggy, there's also issues there too, because we see some leakages of shoulder shrugs. And when you watch her response, there is a slight delay of when she says no. So she should have had this no 1 to 2 seconds prior. So the fact that she delayed, and the shoulder shrugs right here, and then the deep breathe in, the deep breathe out, that falls under psychophysiology. So when I'm looking at the 6 channels, and here I'm seeing indicators of deception where I'm seeing more performance when I'm looking at Karen Reed.
All right, Dr. Mike McCutcheon, what are you seeing from Karen Reed, John O'Keefe's girlfriend, accused murderer, versus John O'Keefe's mother?
You took my phrase, the convincing over conveying. I say that all the time. I think Karen in the first clip, she really is trying to convince you. She is putting on that performance. She's doing all the theatrics to get you to believe. Not remember, most of our language isn't what we're saying. It's why we're here, for body language and our tone. And she's trying to put on the show. It's not so much what she's saying. So I have a problem with that specifically, where in my opinion, I would see that as a deceptive statement instead of her saying, yeah, John's mother, she was angry with me and she accused me of hitting him with the car. She said that he hit it, but yeah, I have more than that. This is like, oh, I got to really make this exciting. I really got to make this convincing. That's what I get from Karen on that one. I will disagree a little bit on Peggy. I took the shoulder shrug, to me was really big. You know, I didn't take it as a deception, more as an indifference, where she's just like, and it could be an indifference to one or two things. It could be an indifference to Karen, where she's essentially saying, distancing myself from her lack of knowledge of what what she believes Karen is talking about. And she's just like, I don't know. And that could be it too. So I saw her statement and what she testified to be more believable. There were still those issues that were just brought up, but I found her statement to be more credible, and I took that shoulder shrug more as a lack of knowledge and indifference towards Karen.
All right, let's get to one of the big issues in the case, which is whether or not Karen Reed asked Jennifer McCabe to do the Google search, or, as the defense says, Jennifer McCabe did the Google search the night before and didn't do it that morning. So here is Karen Reed and Jennifer McCabe talking about this issue.
She started yelling and pulling on me to Google hypothermia and Google how long it takes for somebody, to die in the cold.
Had you ever attempted to search about hypothermia any time before that moment, that morning?
No.
Or that day?
No.
That week?
No.
Karen, did you tell Jen to make that Google search that morning at 6:23?
I did not. I did not tell Jen to make a Google search. I certainly didn't tell her to make the one at 227 either.
All right, Dr. Michael, I'll let you go first this time. What are you seeing from Karen Reed versus Jennifer McCabe on this really, really important issue?
Well, I have to say, in the first clip, she didn't give us much. It was very straightforward. She said, no, she is mimicking what she is saying, which is more what a truthful person would say. So if I'm like, yes, that happened, or no, that didn't happen, and you have the body language matching what the words are, she's very straightforward. There's not as much in her clip. What I did see in Karen's clip was I took two things from it. One was a little bit of that micro expression of that smile that I just see it here on the screen of that duper's delight, the emotional response of like successfully lying. I took that when she kind of gives that smile after. And then there was a change of language where she said, I did not, when she's referring to the search, I did not do that. I did not ask that. But then she changes it when she says the third time, she changes it to didn't. Usually there's a reason for a change of language. And sometimes it could be a change of language and it's not deceptive. But I found that to be a little bit concerning.
Interesting.
The more concerning for me was that duper delight smile at the end.
Susan, you're nodding your head.
Yeah.
I'm reading your body language.
Well, I love him. I think that we're probably two peas in a pod. So anyway, yeah, I totally agree with the first part of it. There was no indicators. Everything flowed well. The timing of it was great. There was nothing that was incongruent at all. So I'm going to give her an A on that one. Oh, Karen, this one was not good for her. And what we're talking about is that I didn't versus I did not. The contractures. And anytime you do that, and what she did is she changed the contracture. So why did she change the contracture? The other thing is, though, what she did was, I want to see if you kind of picked this up, Mike, too, is that she gave what we call a certainty qualifier. She came back and she says, oh, and by the way, it didn't happen at 2:15 either. So what she did is what was a certainty qualifier. This falls under impression management, liar, liar, pants on fire.
All right, Susan Constantine, Mike McCutcheon sticking around. Coming up next, is Jennifer McCabe's testimony trustworthy?
She started saying, could I have hit him? Did I hit him?
Just look at that touch from Trinity Rodman.
Saturday night.
When she is on the field, she changes the game.
Saturday night.
Saturday night is our night.
The new Saturday Night Out is on ION all season long.
Critics and audiences are obsessed.
Would you say that you're sane or insane?
With the new season of Interview with a Killer.
I honestly don't know.
Interview with a Killer. All new episode this Sunday at 8 on Court TV.
She said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him.
That was Jen McCabe back in 2024 at the first trial. And I think everyone's noticed that her demeanor much different second time around. And the jury that's sitting there now, they're only seeing her second time around. They didn't see her demeanor in the first trial. The rest of us did, obviously. But I want to take a look at some more of her testimony here on that big issue, the alleged confession of Karen Reed. Like Karen Reed being the one introducing the concept of, hey, I may have hit him. I am the one who may have struck John O'Keefe. Let's take a look.
When she got on the phone, I had told her, Karen, I saw you guys outside of my sister's house. And then she told me she didn't remember being there. And then she went on to say, she started saying, could I have hit him? Did I hit him? And then she just was all over the place, like screaming my name, screaming so many different things. She was hard to follow or understand.
An important witness, a very important witness for prosecutors because of the conversations and what she witnesses. She's there when they find John O'Keefe, plus she is part of the entire night that night. Also important for the defense because they believe she's part of the conspiracy in all of this. So that brings us to the next question in our investigation, and it's about this witness. Is Jennifer McCabe's testimony trustworthy? Joining us to help figure all of this out, Susan Constantine still with us, and longtime Massachusetts attorney. He was a prosecutor for 20 years, including as the homicide chief in Norfolk County. Richard, I call him Rick, Grundy is with us. Okay, I'll start with you, Susan. In what you saw in that piece, is that consistent with what you've seen previously from Jennifer McCabe?
Well, I can't recall what she was like previously.
No, I mean, in the previous segment. We looked at her in the previous segment.
Yes. Okay, yes, okay. Yeah, there's a difference there. So what I'm looking at, when I'm seeing her and her body language, that she starts right off with a flutter. So there's a little anxiety, a little concern right there. So she's got a little nervous right at the very beginning. And then there's a part where her flow and her language changes. So she's trying to recall what Karen Reed had said, but when she does it, she looks up, her eyes kind of dart a little bit. She breaks her flow. She abandons her thought midway, and then she loses her track. And then she tries to emphatically say what Karen Reed said, which is, of course, we know the famous, did I hit him? Did I hit him? So I'm not going to throw deception at her. I'm just saying that's her interpretation of it. But I do think that she has a hard time recalling it as it actually really happened because of the abandonment and the thought, the fluttering, and the break in the flow.
Okay, Rick, I want you to take a look at this. This is the cross-examination of Jen McCabe, talking about her and Kerry Roberts, the other important witness, who talked about this before testifying and before giving their formal statements. Let's take a look.
You wanted to find out if she had talked to these particular law enforcement officers and what she had told them so that your story could somehow align or it could inform how you responded to questions that they asked you. Isn't that true?
That's not true. We both know what happened. We don't have to have a story. There's nothing more than me calling and saying, hey, did they come to your house? That's what we did when the media showed up, when Miss Reed's private investigator showed up. We just give each other the heads up, hey, somebody's coming, because we're just like normal moms. We're not used to this.
Okay, Rick, I want you to go beyond the body language and put all the circumstances of everything that's happening inside this courtroom. Do you believe her testimony is trustworthy? Will the jury accept her testimony?
I think the general fabric of what she is putting forth to the jury is trustworthy, and I think the jury will largely believe it. Any piece of evidence, whether it's testimony, whether it's physical evidence, whether it's an expert's witness, to really hit the mark is reliant on corroboration. That is some other independent piece of evidence you can put before the jury that lends it credibility, lends the statement or the piece of evidence some credibility. With expert testimony even, you may accept the science, but that's going to have a lot to do with the credibility you assign that person who's offering it to you in their testimony. And here, I think that favors the prosecution because the corroboration here is you have these other individuals, you have the first responders making similar comments. I think the jury may find that this story has kind of been compacted down to now everybody saying 3 times, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. But that there is a fiber there that runs through all the parties that is consistent with that. And if you look at the defense side, they really have a difficult time because their corroboration is now they have to show this whole big conspiracy. 30 people, half of Canton, people that are unrelated to one another, people who are first responders, people who are there with the body on the front lawn. All of them have to be a part of this conspiracy. So I think if you look at the pillars that each party is going to offer to help make this statement stand for what they want, the prosecution is in the better position.
Okay, Susan, there was another piece of the cross-examination of Jennifer McCabe I found really interesting. It's not necessarily about the facts of the case, but I want your analysis of it. Take a look.
Was there any discussion about crafting your testimony in any way to suggest a softer approach?
No.
Did Mr. Brennan take you through a series of questions, for instance, as almost a test run of questions that you might be asked either on direct examination or cross-examination?
No.
Were there any sessions where you sat and was subjected to a cross-examination, like a fake cross-examination or a fake direct examination?
No, there
Anything
wasn't.
like that?
No.
Susan, what do you think of that exchange?
Well, there's parts of it that I believe and parts of it I don't. So, you know, not everybody just shakes their head no, right at no. Sometimes they shake it back and forth when they say yes sometimes. So, but I'm watching for her baseline. I'm trying to figure out what is her baseline. When she's kind of tilting her head, it's like, what are you asking me that question for? Like she's almost annoyed, agitated that you would ask her that question. But then her pitch her pitch lowers when she's asked the question again. Her body language starts to collapse. So when I see that, that's where a person starts to lose some confidence in what she's actually saying. So I don't believe that she did not have discussions with her attorneys, but not in the sense of coaching what to say. I think that there was a dialogue, so there's that kind of ambiguity going on there.
All right, Susan and Rick are going to stay with us. Up next, are Karen Reed's comments trustworthy? I'm Vinnie Politan. We continue our investigation of the death of Boston police officer John O'Keefe. Many already have their minds made up about what happened, but what you or I think really doesn't matter in the end. The only thing that matters is what the jury says at the end of the case. Here's the story. On a frigid January morning in 2022, Boston police officer John O'Keefe was found dead outside a Canton home. His body was battered and lying in the snow. His girlfriend Karen Reed was soon accused of striking him with her SUV and leaving him to die. The first trial ended in a mistrial, with jurors unable to reach a unanimous verdict. Now in her retrial, Reed maintains her innocence, asserting that O'Keefe was killed inside the house and that she's being framed as a part of a law enforcement cover-up. Karen Reed did not testify in her first trial and is not expected to testify in the retrial. However, the jury has heard from her, as prosecutors have played clips from some of her interviews with the media. This case has garnered significant public attention, with supporters rallying for Reed's innocence and critics scrutinizing the investigation's integrity. As the retrial continues, the courtroom remains a battleground for uncovering the truth behind John O'Keefe's tragic death. Every retrial is different to some extent. Everyone makes adjustments. In this case, for prosecutors, there was some evidence that developed between the first and second trial. And that evidence, they believe is going to help them, win this case, are the statements of Karen Reed in interviews she gave to the media. Now, what's interesting is none of these were released until after the first trial. I don't know if the defense anticipated a second trial, right? So the release of these statements, these statements had no impact in the first case because they weren't made public, but they were made public after the first trial. So now they're being used by prosecutors against Karen Reed in this second trial. So let's take a look at one of those clips. And here's Karen Reed talking about the cocktails that she was having that night.
The final count of my alcohol intakes, probably about 5 or 6 or 4. The drinks that they were pouring me at McCarthy's, which is where I consumed most of the alcohol, was the weakest vodka tonic. It was just a really weak pour. just tasted like that's the normal strength of what a drink should be. I felt fine. I felt like I was buzzed.
She may not take the stand, but the jury still has to evaluate what she is saying. And that brings us to the next question in our investigation. Are Karen Reed's comments trustworthy? Will the jury believe what she is saying? Will they hold it against her? Does she come off sympathetic? Does she come across as someone that's not likable? Here with us, jury consultant, human behavior expert, body language expert, Susan Constantine, and retired police officer after 2 decades, expert in police interviews, suspect body language. He now trains investigators, Dr. Mike McCutcheon. Okay, I'll start with you, Susan. What do you see here from Karen Reed as she's discussing some of the cocktails that night and what was going on?
Well, I think we're going to agree on this with Mike and I, is that duping to like crazy all over the place, right? She's smiling all the time throughout it. And that's a form of minimizing. So she's trying to minimize the seriousness of it. And that's where she's got that, the smuggy type of smile that she has. We'll see that oftentimes with her, with the corners just kind of lifting up, but there's also the lips are stretched. So there is some tension behind that. But she's trying to play it off and minimize it. It's no big deal. It's not as severe as you think it is. And she's making it sound like it's almost more playful and more fun. But there's the smiling throughout it really bugs me. I don't think that's going to go over with the jury. And I really would like to hear what Mike has to say. Yeah,
I do too. And Mike, can you give us a quick definition of the duping delight one more time for the folks at home?
So that duping delight, it's an emotional response that a person has because they think that they have successfully conned you, that they have successfully lied. So they give you that, yeah, man, I didn't do it. Because they have that emotional satisfaction of, I got you. And then when you're trying to explain it, like exactly what Susan said, she's like, yeah, man, you know, we're having drinks, and she's like smiling, and it's not a big deal. And Susan, I'm curious what you thought about her hands when you are pointing. That is like, I'm in charge, and she doesn't do that. It's very open, and she has like, oh, I'm just,
anything from her reaction in court, watching herself here? Is anyone seeing anything there?
Well, she certainly is watching, and she's paying attention, because now she's actually seeing herself as she's playing out that moment. So she's quite serious here. And her fact that her eyes are more fixated, she is paying really strong attention to it. I don't think it's a positive one. You can see her corners of her mouth turned down, and also her cheeks are also very flat. So I don't think she thought that was a good performance.
Let's get to...
and if I could...
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
But we have some more clips we have to play.
Real quick, like she's also looking sideways, like she's looking at it like this. Like she's not like, look, she's kind of turning away from it like, ooh, this hurts. This hurts.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, here's another one of the clips that's been played for this jury.
How did you feel after that many drinks? When you got in the car, did you feel like you could drive? And did you feel
I wouldn't have gotten on the expressway. I wouldn't have gotten on the expressway at 12:15 on January 29th. I mean, it was quiet. The roads were very quiet. You can see it on the videos.
Okay. Anything here, Susan?
Well, she starts off defensive posturing, right? And then she kind of unravels herself, and then she puts her hands back down, and then she does a smiling. What Karen Reed does is that she thinks that she's going to connect with people, have rapport with them, create likability by smiling when she's doing it. But it's not sincere. It's a bit condescending, and she does the contempt eye rolls and everything else, and she, kind of girly little shoulder shrug kind of thing that she does. So she wants to appear likable and approachable.
Let's take a look at another clip, because I want to get through a few of them here. This one has a lot more substance to it in terms of the facts of what happened that night. Here she is on Dateline.
I mean, I didn't think I hit him, but could I have clipped him? Could I have tagged him in the knee? And in comparison
incapacitated him. He didn't look mortally wounded as far as I could see, but could I have done something that knocked him out and in drunkenness and in the cold didn't come to again?
And this would have been the moment you had dropped him off at the party.
Yeah, would have had to.
All right, Dr. Mike McCutcheon, your thoughts about that particular clip?
So I'm going to look at just the body language and leave the statement, her statements aside for a minute, because I think her statements are very serious. But the first thing I saw was she just saw it. She just did that, the hair. That is an act of comfort. That is an anxiety-induced behavior to calm yourself. Think of like you're going to give a big speech and you're getting ready to go on stage and you go, okay, I'm ready. She does that. She's obviously not that over-exaggerated of it, but she answers the question, and then that was what she does right off the top. That was the first thing I saw for the body right there. I see that, and I'm like, uh-oh, let's see what we're in for.
Susan, how about you?
Well, I'm going to talk about the language because I know Mike's going to talk about this. He's in statement analysis as well as I am too. There was psychological distancing there. The other thing, it's called an indirect confession. So she did confess. What she's trying to do is kind of like what OJ did. You know, if I would have committed the murder, right? So, I mean, that was not good, did not play out well. There's deception all over it because she's actually confessing right there. And I think that the viewers need to see that as a confession.
Okay, last thing I want to show you is her in court reacting as Jennifer McCabe testifies. So we're listening to Jennifer McCabe, but we're watching Karen Reed.
There's nothing more than me calling and saying, hey, did they come to your house? That's what we did when the media showed up, when Miss Reed's private investigator showed up. We just give each other the heads up, hey, somebody's coming, because we're just like normal moms. We're not used to this.
And that's helpful in making sure that the stories she tells are consistent with the stories you tell.
Susan?
Yep, confirmation glance, right? She's got to look over to say, hey, did you agree with me there? Anger, dislike, totally. Head, smugness, you know, when the head turns around like that. And she does this in this kind of smirk, smile. It's a combination. It's a multimodal type of expression with anger and disgust and contempt and smugness and arrogance. She's got it all wrapped up in one nice little package. And she disagrees totally what she's hearing there. So what do you think, Mike?
I'm right on board with you. That she's almost has that contempt. You know, it's like that combo where her lips are pursed and one side's up a little bit. She is angry. If you could put a side-by-side between this photo freeze frame and the photo from the clip you played a few minutes ago where she's trying to convince, that is huge. And then this right where she's doing that, like, this is that pacifying behavior. She is not happy of what's being said right here. And she's trying to show her disgust, but also trying to show the jury, like, this is crazy, but she is not happy.
All right, Susan Constantine, thank you so much. Great to see you again. We appreciate your insight. Dr. Mike McCutcheon is going to stay with us. Still to come, is Kerry Roberts' testimony trustworthy?
Was that a lie? Did you lie?
I did not intentionally.
Is Karen Reed a killer girlfriend?
She's guilty.
Or the scapegoat in an elaborate cover-up?
Karen Reed was framed.
Karen Reed is accused of murdering her police officer boyfriend.
And it's stated repeatedly, I hit him, I hit him.
She may end up taking the stand. Her first trial ended with a hung jury. They haven't proven anything.
Will a jury finally agree on a verdict?
We know who did it.
The Karen Reed murder retrial. Live coverage weekday mornings, 8, 7 Central on Court TV.
When Mrs. O'Keefe and I went in to see John in the hospital, there was a bracelet that was on his right wrist. It was a blue, like, rubber bracelet. And that bracelet was made when his sister passed away, and her husband, and he wore it all the time. Mrs. O'Keefe still wears it to this day.
Kerry Roberts, a very significant witness in all of this. She is someone who knew John O'Keefe, knew him in high school, and was very friendly with John O'Keefe because they both had children, and their children knew each other, and they would help each other out. And obviously, Kerry would probably help John a little bit more because he was a single parent. Her testimony also important about the day all this happened, because she is with Jennifer McCabe and Karen Reed the morning after, when they get in the car and they're driving around and they find John O'Keefe. So there's a lot that happens. Let's take a look at some of her testimony here.
Technically, I was under oath, and I did not hear Karen asked Jen to Google it.
And yet, under oath...
But I knew it happened at that time.
And yet, under oath, you said you did.
Correct.
And that was a lie, correct?
Objection.
Was that a lie? Did you lie?
I did not intentionally.
But you did.
And
not intentionally.
Okay, that's the end of this.
Understood the question, Mr. Jackson.
All right, is there any other question, or is that it?
I didn't hear what she just said.
I said I misunderstood the question, Mr. Jackson.
That's what you're saying now, correct?
That's what happened.
You know, the first trial, she wasn't cross-examined. She was on and off very quickly. This trial, big, big difference. Brings us to the next question in our investigation. Is Kerry Roberts' testimony trustworthy? Like I said, her testimony significant. She's one of two people with Karen Reed that following morning, plus she knows John O'Keefe. There's a history there. Joining us, longtime Massachusetts attorney, prosecutor for 20 years, including homicide chief in Norfolk County, in Dedham, in the courthouse where all this is taking place. Rick Grundy is with us, and still with us, Dr. Mike McCutcheon. Mike, what did you think about that right there? What are you taking away from Kerry Roberts in that exchange? Because it's a little dicey.
It is, and Rick will be able to speak a little bit more about the tactics as far as the attorneys. They are like intentionally getting her to be rattled. So she's definitely rattled. She did say one thing that I took as a truthful statement that made me think she was getting angry. Unfortunately, in my job, I've had to accuse innocent people of crimes to see how they respond. And she kind of did that, where she got angry and defiant. And then at the end, she said a statement that was very straightforward, and she said, "That's what happened." And that was very powerful. Whether she'll be believable or not, she was definitely rattled, and I'm sure her heart is pounding like crazy while she's testifying. I found that last statement to tilt me more towards yes. I think she's giving me a truthful statement. But I don't know how the jury will see her without any, I'll say, expert knowledge of statement analysis or body language. I'm curious of what Rick will think.
Yeah, Rick, let me do this first, though. Let me play another piece of her testimony, significant piece of her testimony about the tail light, so you have a little more to work with here. Let's watch.
Jen and Karen were in Karen's car, and I was on the phone, essentially with both of them.
Do you know what type of vehicle the defendant was driving at that time?
A Lexus SUV.
As you drove over to Jen McCabe's home and you had some guidance finding it, did you hear any conversations in that open line with, or even any statements by the defendant?
I remember when I pulled in behind her car in Jen's driveway, and at some point Karen said, my taillight, and I looked, and Jen she must have had the brake done, because you could see that there was missing taillight.
When you say missing taillight, was it merely cracked?
No, there was a piece missing.
All right, Rick, what about Kerry Roberts here?
So I think what may come of all that is that these folks trust one another and believe one another, and maybe one picked up a little bit from the other and attributed it to her own ears where she didn't hear the whole thing. But I don't think either of them are going to be looked on by the jurors as fabricating the whole stories. You know, you want to look at the big picture. It's so hard for us spending, over 2 years looking at this stuff. But the big picture for the jury here is that these are two people that were chosen by Karen Reed to go on this mission to find her boyfriend and figure out what happened. And now, clearly, they have turned on one another, or one party has turned on the other. So I think, you know, they're going to look at these people like, why? Again, it comes back to this huge conspiracy, which I think is such a tough sell. If they play it right as reasonable doubt, that's one thing. But I don't think these people are going to be able to put into a chain of 30 people.
Well, let me ask you this, Rick. Would there be enough to raise suspicion of Kerry Roberts, suspicion of Jennifer McCabe, and some of the other witnesses that come through that something just isn't right? You haven't proven to me what happened, but I'm starting to question what's really happening here. Do you think enough is being raised through the cross-examination and the testimony of these witnesses?
Absolutely, and I think that's the real art form for the defense here, is not to go too far where you are trying to prove something that I think is virtually unprovable, and that is the whole conspiracy theory. Link this to, I thought one of the things that, you know, if I'm a juror, it's going to raise my eyebrows a little bit, is these people are in this house. Some of them are law enforcement officers. Nobody's coming out to check what's going on, and they're meeting behind these closed doors at some point and having a conversation where Jennifer McCabe says, well, you know, I'm telling them what I know. That doesn't have that whole ring of truth to it. Again, I don't want to pull on that string until I am now committed to saying this was a conspiracy that went from these 5 people in the living room to the first responders. You know, again, I'll beat this drum one more time. There is a videotape of Karen Reed's father saying, she told me within hours of finding that body, I hit something and I don't know what it is. That videotape has been subpoenaed. The reporter who the father was speaking to has been subpoenaed. I think that makes a pretty difficult road for the defense to go down, get past. But again, don't put out there, she was framed and here's the construction to it. Reasonable doubt based on all these unanswered questions, or those things that make you go, and raise an eyebrow.
Yeah, reasonable doubt is about this big. Proving a conspiracy is like this big. And this is what prosecutors have to prove. They've got to prove this. The defense just has to raise this. And that's that's what a trial is in the United States, criminal trials. Big thanks, Rick Grundy. Great to have you and your insight and your experience. And Dr. Mike McCutcheon, always fantastic. Thank you. Credibility issues are part of every trial. But in this case, things seem amplified because many of the basic facts of the case are in dispute. Therefore, this jury will have to discount the testimony of many witnesses, including some experts, to figure this out. Because 2 people saying opposite things can't both be telling the truth. And that's why the question of credibility means everything here. I'm Vinnie Politan. We'll keep digging for answers as the investigation continues.